Hi, I'm Jaden Easton and this is Crash Course Local History. I'm doing this video to fulfill the research assignment I was assigned regarding the building of canals, specifically in Shanahan, Illinois. Howdy. Let me give you a little definition of what a canal is. A canal, or navigation, are human-made channels or artificial waterways for water convenience or service water transport vehicles. In most cases, the engineered works will have a series of dams and locks that create reservoirs of low-speed current flow. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting on this tree right now, laying in the I&M Canal. Illinois and Michigan Canal right here, boys. Take a look at it in all its glory. Hello, sir.
Hello. Can you tell me more about the I&M Canal?
Yes, I can. The I&M Canal was first suggested by Louis Joliet during his explorations in 1673. He envisioned the abundant economy Illinois could potentially have with the institution of this waterway. Walk this way with me now. Canals in the 1800s were important modes of transportation. The Illinois and Michigan Canal established Chicago as a transportation hub of the United States. Canals like this one also made farming in northern Illinois profitable, helping fuel the economy of developing communities like Shanahan. The village of Shanahan grew along the I&M Canal at the intersection of three rivers, the DuPage, the Des Plaines, and the Kankakee rivers. An early archaeological excavation in the 1900s unearthed mound remnants that pointed to 3,000 to 4,000 years of history. The Potawatomi Indians named this area and called it Shanahan, which means meeting of the waters. The Potawatomi Indians solely inhabited this area until white settlers began to settle here. In 1824, a man named Samuel D. Lockwood, one of the first commissioners of the canal, was given the authorization to hire contractors to survey a route for the canal to follow. In 1836, the canal, first envisioned by Marquette, Joliet's father, and Joliet himself, and promoted by then State Representative Abraham Lincoln, began construction. Shanahan became the site for one of the many locks that were needed. 12 years later, an affordable and efficient medium of transportation was completed, the I&M Canal.
Did the construction of the canal run fairly smoothly?
Well, the construction on the canal began in 1836, although it stopped for several years due to an Illinois state financial crisis related to the Panic of 1837. The Canal Commission had a grant of 284,000 acres of federal land, which it sold at $1.25 per acre to finance the construction. Still, money had to be borrowed from Eastern, U.S., and British investors to finish the canal. While the canal had many travelers in the years leading after 1848, passenger traffic started depleting after the introduction of railroads like this one. As many as 288 boats worked the canal in 1864, and the canal reached its peak of tonnage of over 1 million tons in 1882. Tolls and land sales made it possible for the canal to pay off its debt completely in 1871. It's one of the few canals to do so. Standing next to the Des Plaines River, the river that's parallel to the I&M Canal. As a matter of fact, most of the canal work was done by Irish immigrants who previously worked on the Erie Canal. The work was considered dangerous and many workers died, although no official records exist to indicate how many. The Irish immigrants who toiled to build the canal were often derided as subclass citizens and were treated very poorly by other people in the city. Although America was built on immigration, they sometimes faced discrimination, even when they were just trying to provide a better life for their family. The Chinese became the first Asian people to immigrate to the United States in significant numbers, and their stories akin to the Irish immigrants right around here. Their arrival was spurred by job opportunities opened up by the gold rush of 1849 and the construction of the Transcontinental Railroad in the 1860s. While the Chinese were initially welcomed as a source of low-wage labor, they experienced a severe backlash in the 1870s, similar to the Irish immigrants at the canals because of job competition. By that time, the gold rush had ended and the Transcontinental Railroad was complete, leaving a large population of Chinese immigrants and American settlers in their wake. Job competition between these two groups became fierce, particularly after the Panic of 1873. I mentioned that earlier. It triggered a long economic depression. Chinese workers, who were often willing to work for less than the American counterparts, increasingly faced discriminatory state and local laws and violent reprisals from working class whites, mainly, wait for it, Irish Americans. So you got the Irish immigrants being discriminated here, Chinese immigrants being discriminated elsewhere, and the people that were being discriminatory towards the Chinese were actually Irish Americans. So it's all kind of interconnected there. Now that I told you about the immigration and the construction of the I&M Canal, come on down to the Old Town Road with me. Sorry to get a little bit off topic, Back to the canal. It was finished in 1848 at a total cost of $6,170,226. Chicago Mayor James Hutchinson Woodworth presided over the opening ceremony. Pumps were used to draw water to fill the canal near Chicago, which was soon supplemented by water from the Calumet Feeder Canal. The DuPage River provided water farther south, which just so happens to be in my backyard. And in 1871, the canal was deepened to speed up the current and to improve sewage disposal. Yuck. Unfortunately, sewage is not the only matter disposed of in the canal. Several missing bodies have appeared in the canal's water since its establishment. For example, in 2011, the body of an abducted 4-year-old named Giuliani was discovered in the I&M Canal. Criminals have a long history of concealing evidence of murder by throwing the dead body into the water. This is a vegetable man I made for the demonstration. The canal was eventually made 60 feet wide and 6 feet deep, with tow paths constructed along each edge to permit mules to be harnessed to tow barges along the canal. Fun fact, mules are a cross between a male donkey and a female horse. A peacetime army called the Civilian Conservation Corps, or the CCC for short, in conjunction with the National Park Services, restored some of the locks and started other projects for historical preservation and recreation. The CCC was one of the many New Deal programs introduced by FDR in the early 20th century. In 1984, President Ronald Reagan signed legislation creating the I&M Canal National Heritage Corridor, the first heritage corridor in the nation. The concept encouraged canal trails and nature preserved and helped the downtowns along the canal by emphasizing economic development based upon history and historic preservation. Many towns owe their very existence to the establishment of the I&M Canal. Cities like Venice, Italy, and our sweet home of Shanahan would not be the hub of culture and innovation they are today if it weren't for this beautiful man-made river that we called canals. Today, many average citizens, such as this guy right here, use the canal for recreational activities, such as fishing. Thanks for watching. However, be mindful of the brutal history regarding the construction of the canal. The contractors that struck gold in Shanahan were always supported by the backbone of persecuted immigrants that helped make it all possible. Thanks, I&M Canal. And a special thanks to Muhammad Ali for being the director of this video.